Southerners.
Like the Southerners, you said?
Yeah, the southern states are having a little bit of a struggle.
I'll say, well, they're going to learn the hard way. That's all I can say.
Yeah, well, you know, they were the point men, so now we know what to do to avoid that, right?
Right, right. So.
Okay, so I see Karen's on, Marianne's on, Terry's on, I'm on, and Nate's on. Do we have anyone else?
Marion.
Okay, Marion.
Is Arlene?
I say Marianne, I don't know why. Marion.
Is Arlene on?
Oh, I don't know.
We don't have Arlene and Chris. I think they were trying to sign on, but haven't heard anything yet.
Oh, maybe on the computer?
I'm going to put you on hold and call Arlene's cell phone, just to see how they're doing.
Thank you, Dennis.
Hope we don't lose him.
Are you on a landline, Marion? I'm just curious because you sound really good. It's a very clear connection.
Okay, I'm on a landline. I was going to use my cell phone, but I noticed my minutes were kind of low. And so I said, maybe I better use my land phone.
Smart. It's coming, at least on my computer, it's coming through crystal clear.
Oh, I'll be darned. Okay.
Yeah, so.
I did something right.
You do a lot of things right, I'm pretty sure.
Well, at this age, you know, this is a whole new game for me, right?
Isn't it a great, it's a great adventure though for you, right? Kind of forced into it.
Well, yes, and I was willing to go along with it, but there's a lot of people that at my age won't try.
Well, I admire you, you know, surging forward and, you know, kind of sticking with it and making it work because, you know, we need our seniors' input. And right now, this is the only way to do it.
Obviously. Oh, well, yeah, the only safe way.
Yeah, that's right.
And I miss the senior center so badly. And I worked the kitchen on Mondays, and I used to complain. I said, I wish I could be there now.
See, you got to be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, geez. Oh, well.
Well, soon enough, you know, some way, somehow, you know, they'll work it out. I hope we get to phase 3, you know, in the governor's plan so that we can all get back together to a certain point.
Hey, Terry. Terry,
hello?
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yes. Who is that? Karen?
Karen, yeah.
Hi. Are you
Hello, Karen.
I'm in here listening to you.
You're in my computer.
Marion, you can have Monday and Tuesday then. In
the kitchen. Thank you. Thank you. No, wait a minute. I wish I hadn't said that.
Wait till they build the new housing. We'll take all 5 days.
There you go.
Oh, sure.
They'll need you both.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, dear.
Karen, are you on a landline or your cell phone or a computer?
Well, it's kind of crazy. I'm kind of on both. So I need to turn one or the other off. I'll be honest with you, it's the first time I've done this. And
me too.
I don't have any pictures of anybody. Am I supposed to?
Are you on your computer?
I've got both up and running.
Yeah, so are you seeing the green circle with the white you know, cradle of the telephone in it and my name right now?
I see your name.
That's all everybody's seeing right now.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
you're right on track. As far as I know, Nate, jump in and correct if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't bother using my computer, but that's okay.
Well, you're both coming through great on my computer.
Okay.
Hey, Marion, while you're in my kitchen, will you bring me a drink, please?
Oh, sure. What would you like?
Whatever's there.
And there's not much in that kitchen.
It's that clear though, really.
Mm.
Okay.
I'm not on my computer, but that's okay. It doesn't matter.
So this,
Okay, this is Dennis. I'd like to take a quick roll call, please. Can the Middletown Senior Center hear us? I know they can hear us, but can we hear them? I don't think so.
We can hear you, but you can't hear us.
Oh, there you are. We got you.
can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
This is Karen.
we got Karen. We got
All
every,
right.
how about Frank? Can I hear Frank?
I'm here.
There he is.
Yay!
And is Sean joining us?
Who?
Sean Brown?
I believe he is.
Okay, I don't see him yet. But real quick, I'd like to just call this meeting to order, just so we can get that piece out of the way. So can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I heard everybody. Okay, thank you. I know we looked on the agenda to approve minutes. I had not had a chance to go back and review our last meeting minutes, so I will postpone that and share that in our next meeting, okay? I'd like to just take 5 minutes just to give Sean a chance to dial in before we have Frank kind of give us a high-level overview of the application, or of the project, I should say, and talk a little bit about next steps, timeline. And Frank, I think everyone wants to have some questions and answers and maybe some suggestions. So if you could just gather all that information,
Sure.
and then obviously we'll absorb it and then come back and, with other suggestions or recommendations and things along those lines. I know this is kind of a moving target and we're trying to figure out what we want to move forward with. So Sean just joined us. Hi, Sean.
Is there a video for the meeting or I'm not?
Yes, Nate is going to put up, I guess I had asked to put the drawing up online. Everyone, I believe, has a copy of the actual drawing as well.
Yes.
I have some of them that I printed off. I didn't print them all, but anyway.
Okay. And
They're
then-
up now. Yep.
Yep, and
I
so
have
we have
them.
it here. I think Frank could maybe control that or just have Nate move through the slides. So
Yeah, Nate can move through if
excellent.
which is fine.
So if you don't mind, we'll just let you kind of go through an overview as you did for the council. And then we'll come back and have some questions, answers, and suggestions. Okay?
Sure. So, hello all. Nice to hear you all, although soon enough we'll be in person, I think. Hopefully. But if we can start at, what we did was we took the survey that was provided by the town. So we have the next slide I think is the survey. So we have a good base of what is actually on the site. So this was a line drawing that was provided to us, which is a great start. And I was corrected by Mrs. Santos that the Berkeley and Peckham schools are two different buildings, which I always call them just Berkeley Peckham, but apparently they are two separate buildings and they will be referred to as such going forward. So the Berkeley School will stay as the senior center in all scenarios. So this is a good aerial of what we've got. And this came from the plat cards. And so the Berkeley School, which is the current senior center, will stay. And, we haven't developed any plans for renovations to the school, although I know that the senior center, although I know that there are some just capital needs to keep the maintenance going. And we can look at that as we develop the plan more and get a little bit further down the road. But the scenarios I'm going to present are all good options. The charge, if you recall, was to see what we could maximize the site at without affecting the senior center and the ball field. And so that's what I charge the architect and the design team with. In all scenarios, it seems that engineering wise, we have the capacity in all the utilities and we can make the drainage work. So it really just becomes a design exercise at this point. So if we can go to the first option. The next slide, please. Can we go to the next slide, please? Or am I controlling it? No. Nope. Hello? So if you look in the bottom left corner, you'll see scheme A. So this is page 4 and scheme A. So what this does is it leaves, we're only going to talk about the Peckham School now because Berkeley we know is going to remain. So if we talk about the Peckham School, in this scenario, the Peckham School gets renovated. I like the layout of this design. I think it's one of the more inefficient building scenarios because if you see where the dotted line is right in the middle of the Peckham School, that's really a stairway that goes up or down because at some point there was an addition to that school and you really have 2 different floor levels. So it's not going to be a very efficient building from that perspective. And you'll never have an elevator that you have half a stair and a half an elevator stop. While I like the configuration of the plan, I think it's not the most efficient building. This adds a new building to the rear of the property. And so we get anywhere between 42 and 53 apartments, depending upon the size and the bedrooms and that sort of thing in this scenario. So if we can go to scheme B, that's page 5. So page 5, this plan takes everything a little bit, makes it much more of a cluster of buildings. There's a black square. Oh, there it is. So this cluster of buildings, which I like a lot because you continue to get, this is B1. Is there, if you can go back one page? Yeah, B. So this scenario, it takes the cluster of buildings and keeps them together so that people walking are really can stay within the buildings and get from their apartment to the senior center and back. It keeps the front part of the Peckham School and it builds a new building behind and keeps all the parking behind. So from Green End Avenue, this will look very similar to what it looks like now. And in fact, it'll be enhanced because we're going to add some plantings where it's just asphalt up on the side between the building and the ball field. I asked the design team to take this, and if we were to replace the Peckham School building with a new building, what that would look like, and that's what's on page 6. So if you could just scroll to page 6, that would be great. Can we go forward one? Thank you. So this takes the same concept as saving part of the Peckham School and builds new. So similar number of units, anywhere between 34 and 51, same number of parking spots, except it makes it much more efficient building because we're building new versus trying to save the old building and part of it and then putting an addition on in part of it. I mean, I think this is the most efficient plan. I like it a lot. The one thing that the council suggested is that we shift the building somehow and have a one-way in, one-way out, and a drive around the building. so that it's a safer transition for vehicular traffic. So the next iteration will show that, but none of these drawings show that circular drive path. If we could go to page 7. So this is just a new building in the back. I think it's, similar number of units. It puts the parking in between. It separates the senior center from the housing. It's the closest to the abutting properties. This is one of my least favorites, but I asked them to maximize it, and they did in this case. So I think I think this is the last sheet, is not?
Yes.
There's one more. Yeah. So if we could go back to page 6, I believe. So page 6 is what the council, with some changes, is recommending that we at least explore to the next level and see if we can start laying out apartments and shifting the building so that we can get the drive lane around both sides. And it also pulls the building away from the properties to the west. So that's what we're going to explore next. Obviously with your thoughts and comment. There was discussion at the council meeting of potentially moving the ball field a little bit, but I was charged with trying to leave that alone. So that's sort of where we are and how we've gotten here from January to now. I think we've done a lot of work between then and now, and we're ready for the next phase. If you have comments or questions.
Thank you, Frank, for that overview. And appreciate the feedback. I've received some feedback already, from a few folks, but I'd like to open it up for, Arlene. I know you have some questions. Would you like to start first, and then we can people can add to it as we move forward?
Yes, I'd love to. I have some questions, not concerns, but maybe questions. Looking at, what is it, B1 is your preference?
Yeah.
The council's preference?
Page 6.
Where is the ramp on scheme 1? Where's the ramp to the senior center? And the second question, I guess the second part of that, if there is no ramp, our seniors are going to have to walk through that building to get to the senior center and walk
No, there's
through
a
that
ramp.
building?
So Arlene, there's a ramp. If we could stay on page 6, that would be awesome. So if you look just to the right of the current senior center, there's a ramp there between the building and that first row of shrubs. That's a ramp.
Okay, so right in back of where that T is, you're looking at it on the left side, that is the ramp right there?
Right on the back of where that, what?
I know where you are.
So you're going to have to walk from the back of the building to get to the ramp, the parking? How does that work?
Back of the building. No. It right in the front of the building. So there's a drop off. There's a drop. I mean, they haven't explored. You're talking about the handicap ramp for the senior center?
Yes.
Okay. So I see it in this plan. It looks like the sketch shows it. If you're closest to Green End Avenue, there's sort of a semicircle drop off. Right?
Yeah.
And there are 3 trees in that right in front of the building. There are 2 right on the inside and 1 on the street.
Okay.
You see that?
Yes, I do.
So you see where the stairs are to the senior center, the current stairs?
So,
Just to the right of that is a ramp.
Okay, so you have the ramp in the front of the building now.
I think that there will probably be a couple ramps. I think that there's a walkway behind, as well as, so they haven't developed the senior center flow plan yet. This is really just to see what the building in the back would look like. More than, we can work out all those details with you. And now that we've got to shift the building, Mrs. Santos was very adamant about moving the building so that there's circular traffic around the building, that we'll be reconfiguring that anyway.
Okay.
So
And
it will not be a far walk.
All right. Well, I'm going to leave those in question.
Okay.
My other thought, the parking, is there designated parking or is it free flow back?
Whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
Really, I mean,
I think there has to be designated parking for the housing and designated parking for the senior center, unless, if not the case, it's whoever comes first gets a spot.
yeah, I think it's been my experience that in housing for the elderly, actually any apartment buildings that we built over the years, people want to park closest to their apartment if they can see their parking spot. They like that from their apartment, but some owners prefer to have assigned spots and some owners prefer to have open parking. That's really your preference.
Okay. Well, I have some concern because you have, what is it, 30 spaces for the senior center, spaces for the housing. Is that what has been designated?
It hasn't been designated. We just said there are 90 spots. And then an additional 30 spots for the baseball field.
Okay. And that would be where they currently are laid out?
All in front. The baseball would be right in front.
All right. So when we have events, how do we park? Where do we park? Because we use all that parking and everything else.
However, I'm sure the way you use it now is probably not going to change. But
well, there'll be housing. There, people will have their vehicles parked there.
Well, they won't be parked. You say you use the baseball spots, or what?
When we have a big event, yes, we use that back area where you have the parking designated, where I guess it would be where the garden is. We use all that area. They park on the grass. They park wherever they can find a spot.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
Okay, so that is a concern. Parking is a concern for the senior center. I kind of like, and I guess I like that building in the back unattached to the senior center. I do. And what is it, scheme number C? And I know the council likes that one, but we know what the layout of the property can take and what it has been utilized for. And so I think we might have a better feel for it. I think that building that you have in the back that's on scheme C,
okay,
you could put you could put that last row of parking on the other side of that building toward the abutters property.
Could we go to page 8?
I don't have pages. I just have the diagram, scheme C. It says. Page 7? Yeah.
Oh, 7, sorry.
Yeah. So I don't know. I have a few questions.
So you prefer this one?
Well, only because I think the parking suits what we have used here. I mean, and I think if you move that building and put that last row of parking that you have there in front of that building and back of that building and move that building, I don't know if you have to tilt it like that to make everything fit.
Yeah,
but
you do.
I don't know. I just think it lays out better.
It's the same number of parking spots in any of the schemes. So
yeah, No, I get that. I understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
Parking is going to be an issue. All right, that's been said. What I'm saying is you could get that building closer to the senior center if you move that last row to the fence, along the abutting fence back there, and move the building closer to the center.
You can't, I mean, if we're talking this through, you can't get to those spots behind if you slide the building forward because there's no travel lane. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You're on
yeah.
the boundary lines, right,
Yeah.
Frank?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
Frank,
see.
quick question on page 7. What is the height of that building?
They're all 3 stories.
Okay.
Well, that was a big issue because I think that dominates the entire area, and I don't think that's going to fare well with the abutters, and it certainly dominates this senior center. I mean, it just takes over the whole landscape. But I'm sure the way the way this lot is laid out, that's a pretty high area where the Peckham building is situated now across from the senior. That's one of the heights of the area. So you go up 3 stories, you're going to see that thing from all over town.
So the exercise was to maximize what we could do on the site. If we could fit, and if you look at the table, let's stay on this page 7 for a minute. If you look at the table on the top right corner, it goes, so you have 34 units on 2 floors or 51 units on 3 floors. So again, that's your decision as the town to see what you
I'm just
want.
bringing it to the council's not here. We couldn't talk at the last meeting. I'm just saying that I think that's going to be a problem. And when we sat down originally and discussed this, we said that there could be 2 sites, and we didn't have to. I don't know where the maximum of the site came from, but that wasn't our marching orders, and it doesn't have to be. We're just an advisory committee. I get that, but I'm just saying the area itself, that's pretty dominant of the area. And that's something that the council would have to discuss.
Yeah, I'm happy to do whatever you all tell me to do. Or
No,
whatever.
I understand, but we're just throwing thoughts in, and I don't remember when I listened to the meeting that any council member picked up that that's a 3-story building in every scheme that you have here.
Well, it's 2 or 3. It's only a rooftop view, so it doesn't depict stories because there are no elevations on any of these. So the roof would be the same. It's just a matter of how high it is.
Right. That's the issue, how high it is.
Right.
Okay, those are just some. I have a lot of things written down, but I'm going to let everyone else have an opportunity here. Those are just things when I listened to the presentation, I didn't hear anyone ask, and I thought, okay, when you make our presentation to us, I'd just like to get a feel for what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Okay, Dennis, I'm done.
So are you calling on people or do people jump in? How is this working, Dennis and Nate?
Terry, if you've got some questions, you can go.
All right, if that's all right with everyone. So it was interesting to hear, Frank, when you started this meeting. Oh, and hello, by the way.
How are
Great
you?
job. It's so nice to get this looked at again with everybody. So thanks for taking the time and all the work. Options are so critical and great. So when you started the meeting, you said that your charge was to maximize the site without impacting the senior center and the ball field. I don't think I'm got Alzheimer's yet, but I don't think the subcommittee ever talked about the ball field. We, wanted to preserve the school if at all possible, and the senior center. Those were sort of the priorities that I recall.
I'm happy to build on the ball field.
I'm sorry?
I'm happy to build on the ball field if you'd like.
I was just throwing out there that that really wasn't our focus, you know,
Okay.
the ball field. You know, not that you should or shouldn't, it's just the concern and the focus was to preserve these icons of Middletown. So I just wanted to let you know that I was surprised to hear, you know, how that changed. And maybe that's because, you know, you have architect skills and, you know, your experience. And so that's where your focus was because you don't want to build there. But even I think Councilor Roderick said at the meeting, you know, if we have to move the ball field a little bit or whatnot, there's some options there. So, you know, just that we only had one option that preserved what the priority that the subcommittee talked about. So I did have one question. When you went kind of fast when you jumped from scheme C to scheme D. So I
Yeah,
got,
I actually, I think I even skipped over scheme D. So
Can-
sorry.
no,
That's how
it's all
fast it was. I missed it.
So I understand the scheme C, you
Yep.
said it's a brand new building in the back and it maximizes, it doesn't maximize units because scheme A gave you up to
Right.
53 with, I
Right.
guess, 3 stories. So what were you maximizing? And then could you cover what scheme D is
Yeah. If we
different?
could go to page 8, then I could go to scheme. But yeah, so this one, this is really the maximized, and that's what I was thinking when I thought that was the last slide, but it wasn't. So scheme D actually maximizes the number of units you could build. And this would be a massive structure. This is all new, everything right on Green End Avenue and on the edge of the ball field. It does give you your parking. So maybe there's a, you know, the parking loop that Mrs. Santos was looking for. So maybe there's some combination of a couple of these to move forward with, knowing that we have to make that loop now. And this gives the parking in closer proximity to the senior center as well. If you look at it where the building is to the right and then the drive is between the two buildings. So maybe there's something there.
Okay, so that I appreciate that. That's a good, you know, as you say, you know, we're still massaging and considering. So one of my thoughts as I was looking at the B1, those drawings
Yep.
is, you know, there's other people who don't live there will use the senior center.
Yep.
You know, I don't think that program is anywhere near what it could be with some investment and some financial priority. And, you know, I had found out, you know, last fall, I actually qualified to be a member. Just COVID hit and I couldn't get my check in. So, you know, there should be accommodations for the people that don't live there and want to use the senior center, but not have to walk a mile.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Yep. I think, and that's what Arlene was talking about as far as potentially dedicated spots for the senior center. And I think that's a very fair point, that if we could get parking closer to the senior center, and now that we're going to have this loop road, we're going to have to redesign a little bit anyway. So.
Okay, and that's, you know, why I sort of liked scheme A, and not just because it you know, reflected the charge that I was to understand, you know, the priority, but it gives, and I think I said this at the meeting, you know, it allows everyone to be close to their apartment and parking spaces close to the senior center. And I think it gives great space, ambiance with some green views for all units and for everybody. You know, nobody wants to be, you know, I know a cluster might be more efficient, or, you know, that proximity, but, you know, to be looking at concrete, you know, buildings is not, I don't think, as desirable as having some free open space to look at out your window.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a trade-off. So if
Yeah.
that's a question, it's I think that, no, I think that it's important to note that as we age, we don't want to walk as far to our apartment. So that was the thinking, to make it efficient from that perspective. But we're going to have to reconfigure anyway because we have to get this loop road in. So
Okay, so that was all I had for right now. Also, I'll let someone else weigh in.
okay,
Thank you, Frank
thank you.
and team.
Okay, I'd open it up. Does anyone else have any questions or suggestions?
Sharon and Marion, what do you think of the parking?
I was in dead silence.
No,
I printed out these schemes, and I'm just looking at them, and I think our big question is the parking right now. But
we need,
What
we
is
need that in, because you
question?
use the center 3 or 4 days a week, and Karen's here all the time too. So you know what our people and what, not just our people, meaning the membership, what the elderly population needs is, they're not going to walk that far. They are not going to be able to walk that far.
right, I agree with you.
So it seems that if you take scheme C or D, that if we have to create the loop road anyway, and the senior center needs parking nearby, I can go back to the design team and see what we can come up with.
Okay.
I mean,
We appreciate that, because that is a concern.
is that okay with you, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, that's fine. I think it is important that everyone understands that we do have a very compressed timeline that we're working under in order to get the application in for already in the November, December timeframe. We need to work through this phase of the project as far as a preliminary design, getting that adopted so we can move to an advanced design so that we can get in front of the planning and zoning boards with the town to get the application completed. Frank can talk about that a little bit later, but I do just want to point out that the work that we're adding will impact our ability to file an application this year.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
So November, December of 2020, I thought that was off the table. Is that still on the table?
That's what we've been working for. That's the date I've been looking at.
No, that's
So-
great. I thought that we had missed that. I don't know how I got that impression when we met at the council meeting. So I thought that we're looking at 2021 now, but that's great news.
It'll definitely be difficult, but we're going to try.
Okay, but I think it's more important to get it right than to rush it through, but I don't want to speak for the whole committee. You know, if you design it wrong and it becomes useless to the community or not as useful, what has your investment given you?
Right.
Frank and I don't disagree with that statement at all. I just want to be clear when we talk about timelines that if we're adding work to this phase of what's going on, that this whole process will be pushed out another year.
So, and I guess I would say in response, you know, and I know COVID-19 impacted the process, but, you know, these points that are being raised today, you know, those could have come up before the whole thing went to the council, you know, had we gotten together first.
I'm not arguing anything. I'm just stating a fact that if we want to stay on track for December, we need to move quickly. And if we're going to slow down a little bit, then we'll push off to 2021. I just want to be clear on the timeline. So
So,
I
Sean-
understand the points you're making. I just want to be clear. If we want to hit an application date for 2020, then we need to move at a quick pace. That's it.
so I guess,
Right.
I'm sorry.
Is that a feasibility? The things that we're asking, parking is certainly a problem. So is that something that can't be done? Or you can't redesign? They have a pretty good feel for the entire area here. Everything's laid out once already. It can't be that difficult to redesign. You're going to move the whole thing for Teresa's suggestion, which I thought was an excellent suggestion as far as seniors are concerned. But if you're going to do that, you're going to change the parking area anyway. Can you please incorporate some of these thoughts without pushing it back too far?
Yeah, I think we have to redesign the site anyway. So, but as it's working in the public process versus one of my private clients. I mean, I could have, the design team redesign, and then the council, or not the council, but a client, basically say yes or no the day that the design is done. But in the public process that we're in now, it's a little bit more difficult because you have to add the council meetings and that sort of thing. So,
Well, I'm sure the council will entertain the thought of maybe a special meeting needs to happen if we want to get it right the first time and at the same time move forward in a timely manner.
you would know way better than me. So that's.
Well, I'm just saying.
No, I know, but you've lived in that arena, so I that's why I'm saying that you would know, and that would be awesome if that were the case. So I'm happy to.
Okay.
Frank,
All right, thank you.
Frank, seems like parking has become one of the main issues, okay?
Yep.
And, also, making it easy for seniors to get around, with our ramps and things like that.
Yes.
And whether we're going to go 3 stories or 2 stories in that location. As we've talked in the evaluation, when we were kind of putting this together, we want to make sure that the community, surrounding communities do accept this, as part of their neighborhood and their area. And I guess I'm still a little concerned myself that if we put a bigger building in there that doesn't fit into that particular area, are we going to get a lot of pushback from the residents? What's your thought on that?
So I can tell you that there's always pushback from every neighborhood we build in every community we build in. So no one likes change. And especially if it affects them directly. So I can tell you there probably will be pushback. And in any scenario, whether we build 2 stories or 3 stories, there's going to be pushback and neighborhood issues. There just are. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Okay. And I know that we've talked about, trying to identify another location. I know you've been super busy, and again, we've gotten slowed down because of this virus and things along those lines. Because I know people have expressed to say, hey, do we really want to try to put 60 units on 3 floors with these parking concerns, or should we be looking at 40 units, which would relieve the congestion of the area, and then identify another location that we can put more units in to increase the number of, senior affordable housing for Middletown?
And that can be, this whole thing can be a phased development over, you could do 30 or 40 units every couple of years if you chose to do that. But this first exercise was just to see what the site could handle.
Okay.
So if I'm directed to build the lower end of that amount of units, then I'm happy to have that designed. That's really, I guess, you know, I can tell you what I think as far as design goes, and then, but then you have given me your input both last week from the council and then today, which I will take back. But the density, that's really a question that I guess the council, Mr. Brown, has to decide.
So this council's advisory to the town council, so the comments from tonight should be documented and brought to the council for further consideration if that's what the committee desires to do.
Mhm.
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Thank you. So, the issue with the neighbors and people not liking change, I guess one of my thoughts is, change is embraced if it works. And I wonder if with the next set of drawings, if it's practice or considered to maybe reach out to the immediate abutters to see if they have thoughts. And the phased idea is a great idea. I guess my question to you, Frank, is will 30 or 40 units get funded?
So I think 30 or 40 is a nice size project that it might actually squeak in. We just built 46 in Barrington, and those are family housing units. So you could do a 30 or 40 unit project. And it's possible.
Okay. Thank you. And what is your experience with approaching the abutters as, with a run of drafts?
So again, this goes back to my client question, in that I've never gone to an abutters meeting without my client being on board with the plan we're presenting to the abutter or the abutters. So in this case, I guess the council is my client.
Yep.
And so I would want their sign off before going and presenting it to someone else.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
understood.
I think, Terry, just as a comment, talking about delaying something when you don't even have in mind what the council really wants, how do you make a presentation to the community? I think you're way ahead of steps here, and we need to wait until the council as a whole makes a decision as to what scheme they would like to see here. And then that's the way I've always seen everything done through my experience at the town on any level. I think you're just asking for a whole lot of problems.
Noted.
Yeah, I think that's, as Frank just said, he thinks it would be better to make sure that, the client / the council has pretty much endorsed, the plan and what it looks like.
Absolutely.
Right, shared with the community, so that I'll make a note of that just as something to keep in mind.
I guess if I could just come full circle and close the loop on that, and having a little empathy with the abutters, because we've just found some good comments from the subcommittee. And, abutters may have good comments that would, I don't want to have the drawers go through another rendition for something that might be really egregious to them. And sometimes it's good to get in front of it so it can be incorporated if there are good ideas from that particular group. That's all.
I disagree with that, but that's me. I think you wait until you have something solid and everybody's behind it so that you present something that we all want it to be a great development, Terry. There's no question. And abutters are always going to want to have something extra, and that's certainly permissible and understandable, but not at this stage. Not at this stage.
All right. Like Frank said, you've been through this, more.
Okay.
All right. Any other participants would like to share anything? Questions, suggestions? Okay. I do want to thank Frank. Thank you very much for all your effort. I know you and I chatted a few times and you've been pushing this forward, and I know this, the virus and our focus as a town has really been turned to keeping our citizens healthy and safe and our seniors fed and, people, just weathering this storm with as little pain as possible. So, and I think we're all frustrated because it has slowed down, but at the same time, we understand it's out of our hands, but we do appreciate you getting this to where it's at. I saw your drawings, like you were kind of on this in the first quarter of this year. So I know this has been done for a little bit. So appreciate that. Based on what you know now, Frank, how long do you think it would take for them to maybe take some of these considerations, and maybe changing these drawings a little bit to kind of give us a feel for what it would look like again, or what other feedback do you need from us?
I'm not sure how long it will take them, but my guess is that, a couple of weeks before
Okay.
they could get anything back to me with some thoughts. I mean, they're working on what the council asked for last week. So I'd have to just get them to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Dennis, I think most importantly is to get these suggestions to the council and let them put their final approval on it so that Frank can move forward as quickly as possible.
I would agree entirely with Arlene.
I can't really hear.
The
Sorry,
work
Sean, breaking up a little bit.
remain prioritized by
I'm getting
the
nothing.
town
Yeah, there's a problem right
council,
now.
and if there's going to be a
Yes,
shift,
Sean,
you need to bring it back to the town.
there you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't do anything.
I think
So
what we
I didn't hear anything that Sean said.
No.
No.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yes. that was-
Yes.
Yes.
I agree with Arlene. The additional work needs to go through the town council. And at that point, with the council's consent, then Frank would readjust what he's working on.
Can that be put on the July 6th agenda, Sean?
If it's allowed by the council president, yes.
So is that like a docket request from the chair, Dennis?
Yes.
Okay, that was weird.
Mhm.
Just making a note.
The neighbors chiming in.
Well, I think it's,
I heard that.
I can type these up and, I guess we could put a request in to get it on the docket for the 6th. Again, I would have kind of heard out of this in a lot of ways, and I'll put it together, but parking, and did I say parking? Okay. It's tough when you have a full-time job too. Jesus, these people, don't they know it's only 5:00? Gee. Playing hooky from work. Okay, so I'm
You're
here.
in charge with Get it done.
Parking density, some of the scenarios, walking distance for the seniors. I think these are a lot of things that the council was already concerned about a little bit, was the parking and the circular, exiting and entering. But I'll type them up. I'll share them with everybody. Let me know if I missed anything. And if you want to add anything, and we will get it submitted to the council for the docket so they can take it under consideration and hopefully give us some good recommendations.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
Perfect.
I'm going to be looking for someone to volunteer to be the secretary of the subcommittee soon. Anyone interested, please raise your hand. I don't see anything.
I took a turn. It's somebody's turn.
Okay. But again, Frank, thank you very much. I think you kind of heard some of our stuff and you've been talking. I mean, I think the council mentioned a few of these as concerns as well. Did you say you've moved forward with some of the council's questions with the nurse?
Yeah, I just forwarded the circular drive question to the architect and design team, and they're working on that. So,
Okay. All right. Well, then I will, like I said, put our minutes together here, some of the bullets. I will try to get it on the docket for the 6th. We'll work with Bob. I know Bob wants to move this forward. One of the other things that during the meeting the other night, Bob had made a recommendation to do a survey of some sort or a study, and asked Sean to spearhead this to try to identify exactly how many senior affordable housing do we need in Middletown. And I kind of added my 2 cents in regards to what the state's been saying we need, what comprehensive plan has been looking at, what we've heard in the survey. So that's something you might read some more about in regards to trying to understand exactly how much senior housing do we need in Middletown. I just
So-
wanted to make you aware of that. Sean, do you want to share anything on that?
Yep, so Frank and I discussed that, and he is seeking a proposal from a consultant to provide that work. He uses a consultant that the town has used on some litigation matters, so we should have that shortly, and that should come back to the council for approval.
Can I ask Frank a question on that?
Dawn, I just, and I know you know this, but I went back to, and I don't know if it's the market values you're looking at or for the type of housing that there's proposing here for the seniors, but I just looked at the survey and said 81% of the people that participated in the survey stated that there's a need for senior housing in the community. And then there's the other set, it says future housing, 88% stated that there's a need for affordable senior housing. So we did do this was every senior from age 55 on, and the information was sent to them, and these were their responses. So we have a pretty good feel of what the need is. Now, I don't know what the age brackets that there is a breakdown in here, but I don't have it. I was going to send you a copy of it just as a reminder of what we did do and what's available right now.
Yep, and what we actually need is a report from someone who does basically a market analysis. And that report, and there's 2 parts to it. One is an analysis of the community to look at how many units we need across the entire community. The second analysis is to determine the viability of this project itself, to make sure that it will pay for itself. And then it's data formatted, required and formatted in a way that will allow us to not only get the tax credits, but also to solicit proposals from developers. So, we basically need the data from someone who has a certain set of experiences and licenses to express the opinions, at a certain point in time, because things have changed quite a bit since the survey with COVID, not only from a health perspective, but an economic perspective. So, we're talking, it's Steve Dialag, who's done this work before, and is familiar with the different parties that would be using it. So it's not to do the work that you've already done. It's really, it's a more formal presentation of the data and a more formal market analysis. But No one disputes the need. I think that's just needs to be clearly stated.
Can I ask a question of Frank? If you're done, Arlene?
Sure.
I am.
So it's hard to tell what's going on when you can't see people. So Frank, I have two questions. For housing such as this, architecturally or design wise, will COVID-19 impact the considerations of how things are done? You know, like I know that we talked about it's cost effective to have a community laundry room, but the trend, is to have laundry inside. And, with COVID, is the latter going to be more something that should be more considered now, type of things? Like no community spaces, or, I don't know. I'm not an architect. I was just wondering if anything has come up in conversation in your work along those lines.
So I can tell you that it's a huge consideration, especially in the senior housing community. But the socialization is still an important part of all of our lives, especially as we age, because we become more isolated. So I think we just have to figure out how to do that safely. But from a design standpoint, I haven't seen more isolation be any trends anywhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fine. I was also, the second question was, in the market study, will that expose or tell us the age ranges of the owners or residents of the project, or just the numbers of units without a sort of a demographic of who we would expect?
Well, I think demographics are a huge part of the study, and you'd see those stats as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
That's a great question, because I'm interested in that as well in regards to demographics, because I do believe that each decade of folks have different concerns and different needs, and we don't need to go building a zillion homes when people want to stay in their homes, right? So we've got to understand that mix. And so I was happy to support that study, but I would like to see if it's possible to understand from the demographics, what people are needing by age group, and just trying to identify the different things that we should be working on. If it's not senior affordable housing, is it, ways of keeping people in their homes so we don't need to go build senior affordable housing? So that's just something to look at. My gut feelings tell me that if we build 40 units, we're not going to hit our quota for Middletown. So I hate to see it slow the project down. Or if we do 60 units, I don't think that's going to hit our quota as well, from what we're going to find out in this document. If this document comes back and tells me we need 60 and less units, I will be shocked.
Yeah, I think you're talking, your need is going to show up as hundreds of units.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to, and we can expand this, and right now might not be the time, but I will put it out there that I'd like to see if we can start identifying a second unit, Frank and Sean, Sean, I don't know if you have any thoughts of any other buildings we have in town, and, that might be something that we would want to use for this type of living space. And if that would somehow be identified maybe as a location by this study that says, hey, we built some units here, that's going to take care of this, this many people in this general area. Do we want to put one in another part of town? And by the way, it's probably optimal because the town has another building that's right here, and it's kind of something we can, move forward with. Is there any consideration on looking at the second unit, a second location?
The council.
We've looked and discussed it, but at this point in time, the direction from the council is to focus on this project and get it moving, not to go in multiple directions. The other night, the council did approve a request from CDBG to look at a study, money to expand affordable housing options. So I think logically that if that funding comes through, that would be a source of investigation.
Okay,
But I think right now that's where we're at.
okay. There's no, as a subcommittee, we were kind of looking, and we were told if you can combine multiple locations and you can get 100 units, for example, it becomes more, cost effective and
More desirable to buyers
more
that want to buy
desirable.
in.
Yeah, the people, to investors, right, that wanted to invest in 100 units versus 40 units. So, but that's okay. I get it. I don't want to slow it down. I just wanted to ask that question. Okay. Any other questions, suggestions? Okay, can I have a shout out to Frank and Sean for helping us move this forward?
Thank you.
Shout out, well done.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you, guys. If there are no other questions, I'll make a motion to end the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5:06. We're done, and I gotta admit, I'm missing this meeting at the senior center because usually I've had 2 cups of coffee and a bunch of cookies by now. So
Oh.
COVID.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Nate.
Bye-bye.
Stay safe. Bye.